This question comes from Marvin, who asks, what if every volcano on Earth erupted at the same time? Short answer, congratulations. You've just speed ran the Ice Age, global famine, atmospheric collapse, and a bonus round called Why is the Sky Made of Fire Now? But let's not rush. There's a lot of planet to destroy, and we should stay organized. First, a quick clarification. Every volcano includes the ones we know, the ones we suspect, the ones currently asleep, and the ones quietly pretending they don't exist under the ocean floor. Depending on how you count, Earth has somewhere between 1,300 and 40,000 volcanoes. Scientists can't agree on the number because many are underwater, and humans are historically bad at looking down. But to keep things simple, let's just say all the active ones erupt together. Plus, every dormant volcano decides to wake up because peer pressure is powerful. Now, what counts as erupting? Volcanoes vary wildly. Some spit ash, some ooze lava, some bury towns. Some inconvenience airplanes, and some explode with the enthusiasm of an overshaken soda bottle the size of a mountain. We'll assume every volcano releases its maximum possible eruption, the worst case for each. Let's start with temperature. No, not the lava. Earth. You might think the world would instantly overheat. Actually, the opposite happens first. When volcanoes erupt, they release sulfur dioxide, ash, and tiny particles that reflect sunlight. After the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991, global temperatures dropped 0.5 degrees Celsius for almost 2 years. Pinatubo was one volcano. Now multiply that by every volcano. Every single one. Within days, sunlight would dim across the globe. Cities would turn twilight dark at noon. Solar panels would become extremely decorative and completely useless. Temperatures would plunge by 5 to 15 degrees Celsius, depending on how dramatic the volcanoes feel. The sky would fill with enough ash to paint sunsets purple, orange, and end-of-the-world gray. Air travel would shut down globally. If you wanted to fly through volcanic ash, you'd need an airplane made entirely of sandpaper. Okay, that's the atmospheric side. Let's talk lava. Most volcanoes don't produce much lava. A few produce oceans of it. If all volcanic lava output happened simultaneously, you'd get around 50 to 100 cubic kilometers of molten rock pouring across Earth's surface. That sounds apocalyptic, but in reality, it would cover less than 0.01% of the planet. So unless you live near a volcano, or on top of one, your house is probably safe from lava. Your lungs, though, not so much. The real killer is ash. Volcanic ash is not like fireplace ash. It's microscopic glass shards. When it settles in your lungs, it politely asks your airways to stop working. Within a week, most cities would be buried in a few centimeters to a few meters of ash. Roofs would collapse like soggy cardboard. Filters, engines, lungs, electronics, everything fails.
But we still haven't touched the worst part, the supervolcanoes. Earth has around 20 supervolcanoes, including Yellowstone, Toba, Taupo, and Ira. Most of the time, fortunately, they sit still and behave themselves. If they all erupted together, the explosion would release more energy than all nuclear weapons on Earth detonated simultaneously. Yellowstone alone can eject 1,000 cubic kilometers of material. Multiply that by 20, and you get enough ash to wrap the planet like a toxic Christmas present. But wait, we're still not done.
Because while the atmosphere cools rapidly, the planet itself heats up. All those eruptions pump greenhouse gases, CO2, methane, water vapor, into the sky. After the volcanic winter wears off, the trapped heat would trigger the opposite effect of volcanic summer. Temperatures would swing wildly, species would collapse, oceans would acidify, and long after the ash settles, the CO2 sticks around for centuries. So, how long does humanity last? Well, humans are surprisingly adaptable, but agriculture isn't. Plants don't grow in the dark, or in ash, or on fire. Within months, global food supplies would collapse. Within years, surviving populations would cluster around the few zones where sunlight breaks through. Most megacities would become gray fossil copies of themselves. And Earth survives. Earth always survives. It just becomes different. But there's one final twist. Every volcano erupting simultaneously includes the 75% of volcanoes hidden beneath the ocean floor. Those underwater eruptions would heat water, create steam, and trigger countless tsunamis. But more importantly, they would inject billions of tons of minerals and chemicals into the ocean, and after a century or two of chaos, life would bloom again. Algae, microorganisms, ecosystems reborn. Life recovers. Humans, we'd need a miracle, a bunker, or extremely forgiving lungs. So, in summary, if every volcano erupted simultaneously, Earth wouldn't explode, but civilization would. Sometimes the planet just wants to turn the difficulty setting back to hard mode.
Thanks for watching Probably a Bad Idea. If you enjoyed this disaster, consider subscribing for the next one. I'm sure it'll be worse.